obviously, I thought one of the things we haven't done for a while is catch up with all of the stuff that's been going on with Activision Blizzard. And primarily, I am meant to be a journalist, right? An adjunct professor now. I've parlayed my journalism into that. That's what I've done for myself. So I thought we'd catch up on all the Activision Blizzard stuff just to give Griff something to do over Christmas. Because X-Devil's editing all of the Enemy of the People episodes I've recorded. And, of course, the rise of Ian Armin. So Griff's a little bit left out. So I thought if we did some news. Now, if you are watching this when it gets to YouTube and wondering, what the fuck are you wearing? It's if you don't watch the Football Manager content, it's a tradition at Christmas. I wear a Christmas jumper. I stream Football Manager while doing a role play. I don't know how that became a tradition. I don't know why my life went off the rails the way it has, but it has. But this one is a particularly nasty one, as you can see. It's Santa Claus with a sword, which isn't traditional, riding a unicorn into space. I don't know why that's a Christmas jumper. I really don't. I don't even know where the fuck I got it from. But this one was at the back of the cupboard. So I was like, all right, okay. I've still got another 5 or 6 to get through. Anyway, let's start by talking about Activision Blizzard, because there have been some sort of crazy ups and downs lately with them. And they realistically, they continue to sort of go from, they lurch from one bad thing to the next. It's been really rough. I mean, obviously, I don't have any sympathy with the company. I keep telling people, buy the dip, but not just yet. Because when Bobby Kotick goes, and maybe he won't, maybe he will, we'll get into that. The dip's going to be greater, because the one thing Bobby Kotick is sort of known for is being able to conjure up record profits from inferior products, which turns out, if you're a CEO, that's a hell of a skill to have, right? So over the past month, since it came out publicly that Bobby Kotick was aware of some of the abuses that were going on and actively went out of his way to sort of, not disclose it to shareholders, which some people say is a violation of his fiduciary duty. That would certainly be my interpretation with my cursory understanding of finances and what you have to disclose to shareholders and investors. It was put out publicly on the Wall Street Journal in a sort of bombshell report that, people wanted him to go. And so as a result, there's been this increased pressure, and we've seen an unprecedented thing happen. And that is that business partners of Activision Blizzard, Xbox, PlayStation, and as we'll see in a little bit also Nintendo, they've come out and said, actually, you know what? Activision Blizzard suck. The way they treat workers is deplorable, and we'd probably recommend that Bobby Kotick resigns. This is like mega unprecedented in corporate America. Corporations generally have a tendency not to call out corporations because you never know when you're going to be on the chopping block next, so any posturing can essentially come back and really bite you in the arse. What's super interesting about that is interesting, unfortunate and terrible, is one of the companies that did it, as I said, was PlayStation. And then there was a Sony executive that was caught soliciting sexual attention from underage boys. So, you've got to really be careful about saying, yeah, you've got a toxic workplace culture over there. Get your own house in order is generally a good rule of thumb. But anyway, let's start with Bobby Kotick. Very brave declaration. I'll just get ready. It's been that long since I've done any news. You can see here, unlike Bobby Kotick, Kabonge, the manager of Black Pider Angels, actually walked out. Now, Bobby Kotick is saying he absolutely will only do that if he can't fix the problems at Activision Blizzard, which is really nice of him. Now, just to put how absurd this is into context, he is the CEO. He's been the CEO for years. All of the problems have happened under his watch. They've completely cleaned out all of the management below him. They've cleaned out the head of human resources. They've even got rid of their legal counsel. They've appointed completely new upper tier management, new project management for each of their games. The only common factor is Bobby Kotick. And yet, Bobby Kotick is going, listen, guys, I will totally leave if I can't fix these problems, right? Well, it's like, dude, you've had plenty of time. It's actually interesting as well. He's so desperate to sort of cling on to this vestige power because remember, being a CEO of a mega media corporation, it's not even about the money. Bobby Kotick's got money. It's about the power and the influence, and sort of also, if he goes out, you know, if you've watched Succession, which I recommend you do, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If he goes out on a low, if he can't show himself to be Teflon and just have all his stuff run off him, he has a good chance he never gets back to the upper echelons of executive power ever again. So it's very important publicly that he shows he can sort of, you know, walk away from this. But anyway, this was the report. You can see Activision stock continues to plunge. And the chief executive, Bobby Kotick, has told senior management he would consider leaving the company. Remember, as well, he's like a majority shareholder. Well, not a majority shareholder in the sense that he has a majority, but he's a major shareholder in the sense that he individually holds, I think, more stock than almost any other individual who has any stock. But anyway, he said he would consider leaving the company if he can't quickly fix the culture problems at the video game giant, according to people familiar with his comments. Mr. Kotick, who has led Activision for 3 decades, by the way. I mean, you know, far be it from me to suggest he might have contributed to this culture in a way, having been there for 30 years. Stopped short of saying he would step down in a Friday meeting with executives of the company's Blizzard Entertainment unit, but left the possibility open if misconduct issues across the company weren't fixed with speed, these people said. Mr. Kotick also added he would be transparent with his board, and an Activision spokeswoman has said he wouldn't have been informed of every report of misconduct and that the Wall Street Journal reports weren't accurate as a result. The spokeswoman also added Mr. Kotick regrets the alleged incident with his assistant. That was another allegation in the Wall Street Journal, that he'd left a voicemail, right? They didn't address this one in their press release. He left a voicemail threatening to kill his personal assistant. They've now admitted that. He did do that, and he regrets doing that. So it's all right. It's you know, just one of those things that happen sometimes. And I think we should all forgive Bobby Kotick, one of America's most powerful men, for making that threat. So that's where we're at there. That was approximately 3 weeks ago. Now, you may remember as well that there was a lot of courting of Activision Blizzard and Nintendo. They really wanted to sort of get these good relationships in. They were like saying, "Oh, hey, we're Overwatch is a cultural phenomenon. Please put Tracer in Smash Brothers, please." Like, you know, just pathetic. Just so desperate to try and create this sort of sense that their IP is having a much more profound impact on the cultural zeitgeist than it actually is, when in reality, the general consensus is Warcraft is dead. World of Warcraft is dead. The Call of Duties keep getting worse. Overwatch is a failure, and Overwatch 2 is probably likely to continue that. Everyone's all in on Diablo 4, I guess. Do they think that's going to fix everything? Who knows? Who knows how their brain works? Basically, their best piece of intellectual property is Candy Crush. But, you know, whatever. Well, anyway, Nintendo. You can see Nintendo issues internal response to the Activision Blizzard reports, which is kind of weird. They literally sent an internal email, which was from, hilariously, Doug Bowser. It blows my mind that the simulation is so obvious at times that the Nintendo of America president surname is Bowser. Like, guys, it's okay. I realize now I am not a real person. None of this is real. I am an algorithm, but for a god machine. That's the only explanation for it. But anyway, he sent an email out to all of his peeps, all of his workers, and he said, along with all of you, I've been following the latest developments with Activision Blizzard and the ongoing reports of sexual harassment and toxicity at the company. I find these accounts distressing and disturbing. They run counter to my values as well as Nintendo's beliefs, values, and policies. Bowser goes on in the letter to explain that Nintendo is committed to having an open and inclusive workplace where all are welcome. He remarks the company holds itself to this standard and expects the same from the industry and their partners. And this was confirmed when Fanbyte, this is the publication that ran this story, they basically reached out to Nintendo PR and they just said, we can confirm that that internal email is accurate and we've nothing further to share on the topic. So another big company, another prospective business partner, essentially saying Activision Blizzard is a garbage company. And when called on it, after the email leaks, because I don't know if you've noticed, but everything about Activision Blizzard now is just going straight out into the public domain. Nobody is going to do Activision Blizzard any favors, not even the journalists that have been beholden to them for so long. That's a sidebar. We can go big head for a sidebar. You know, one of the things Activision Blizzard did really, really well is they essentially whipped all of the journalists, you know, kept them in a little enclosure and basically said, if you want to have early access to games, if you want to be able to come to events like BlizzCon, if you don't want a big media company breathing down your neck and applying pressure to your publications to make sure you say nice things about us, then you're going to have to say nice things about us. You're going to have to, you know, keep up the positive press. And we end up with outrageous situations where you've got journalists, you know, for example, in the esports sphere, knowing that they are going to cut Heroes of the Storm funding, knowing they're going to kill that as an esport. The journalists know a week before the orgs, the players, the talent, the broadcast talent, and the journalists don't tell anyone, and they just say, yeah, we're not going to release this bombshell news and give everyone a heads up that their entire world's about to collapse. We're not going to publish it. Why? Well, because Activision Blizzard is a vengeful and wrathful company, and they've prided themselves on that for so long. Now, because games journalists are just weak, spineless maggots, basically, now it's not fashionable to be beholden to Activision Blizzard. What you have to do is come out and say, I hated Activision Blizzard the whole time. I was the one that was publishing stories about them. I always hated them. And so now Activision Blizzard can't get a break in the public domain. The people that would have ultimately clandestinely hidden those stories or put a positive spin on those stories or ran counter stories or sat on embargoes to give Activision Blizzard enough time to get their PR offensive in order, they're not doing that anymore. Activision Blizzard can't get any favors at all, and that is the way it's going to be, my read, until Bobby Kotick's out. That seems to be what people want. So Nintendo were the latest. So what they decided to do, Activision Blizzard, was they decided to do another press release. I want to make it abundantly clear that their approach to this sort of situation has been just terrible from start to finish. What they've basically done is they keep saying, don't worry, we're going to fix everything. And then another problem crops up and they go, we're going to fix that too. And then another problem crops up and they go, we're definitely going to fix that one too. And it's like, guys, like, it's going to have to be something more decisive than this. But this was on November 22nd when they came out, and basically the board of directors put out a press release saying that it was going to continue and build upon its ongoing oversight because it was creating a new workplace responsibility committee, which is to ensure the implementation of all the initiatives to eliminate harassment and discrimination in the workplace. This is going to be especially ironic, borderline hilarious, when we get to the story that happened just days after this. But you can see basically they spit out all of the buzzwords, and they're very specific to attribute it all to Bobby Kotick. The Chief Executive Officer, Bobby Kotick, along with Chief People Officer and Chief Compliance Officer, will provide frequent progress reports to the committee, which will regularly brief the full board. The committee is empowered to retain outside consultants or advisors, including independent legal counsel, to assist in its work. The Activision Blizzard board is committed to ensuring a healthy workplace. Remember all of these buzzwords, guys, in which all employees feel valued, safe, and respected. Our audit committee has been kept apprised of developments, including the EEOC and DFEH investigations. They're the other two investigations they got going on. The EEOC is the Equal Opportunities Employment thing, and the DFH is the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. They're absolutely ravaged by lawsuits and investigations right now. The board supports the numerous steps taken by management since 2018 to improve workplace culture, including centralizing the human resources function in 2019 to ensure greater consistency and accountability, strengthening and increasing training, and most recently improving methods for reporting and responding to complaints of harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. Remember, of course, that one of the big things that came out in the DFEH lawsuit, and it's now committed to legal documents, was that women who were being harassed sexually in the workplace complained, and human resources took those complaints, threw them in the bin and said, don't worry about it. And then the managers that had done the things that they should have been in trouble for, they were like, oh, okay, well, cool. If we're not going to do anything about it, I'll just make that person's life hell for having the temerity to complain about my sexual harassment in the first place. This was all done. It was all documented, and HR did absolutely nothing about it. So that was why the HR person had to go in the end and sort of fall on their sword. But anyway, so Activision Blizzard thought, right, don't worry, we've put out another press release. We've completely nailed it, guys. We've completely nailed it. Now, while that was going on, according to a report over in Axios, you can see state treasurers pressure Activision over misconduct allegations. And basically what was happening here, you can't see that because Axios doesn't play nice with XSplit or OBS. But don't worry, I'll read it to you. Basically, it said the Illinois state treasurer, because there were 6 state treasurers wanting to make changes. So the Illinois state treasurer said that there needs to be sweeping changes made in the company. He cited accounts from the past few months involving harassment allegations and unequal pay. Added, we're concerned that the current CEO and board of directors don't have the skill set nor the conviction to institute sweeping changes needed to transform their culture and restore trust with employees and shareholders and their partners. This particular case has been waiting for the board to step in and do an investigation, said the Massachusetts treasurer, Deborah Goldberg, and added, a true investigation, an outside investigation. And I mean, what was it? 2 weeks ago, they said they would stand by the CEO. So, they're under now sort of immense pressure, government pressure, and this story broke. And keep in mind, you saw the press release, you saw what they said. This was a manager from Raven Software basically came out and said, my friends in quality assurance at Raven were promised for months that Activision was working towards a pay restructure to increase their wages. Today, one by one, valuable members of the team were called into meetings and told they were being let go. These people were asked to relocate to Madison, Wisconsin to work there. Now they're out of a job on January 28th. Our QA team does incredible work, but this will not only increase their workload, but crush morale. If any industry friends have open positions, please share them. If it isn't clear, this is bullshit. It's unfair to these people to string them along, promising them something better, and then let them go. I am infuriated right now. Now, of course, if you followed Activision Blizzard and reported on them for as long as I have, then you know this is nothing new. This is a company that has routinely done shit like this. This is a company, by the way, that was being took to court, well, being sued, I should say, in France because they basically were cutting people's jobs. They were firing people, saying they weren't necessary. That was the argument they were using to fire them. And then they would turn around and then they would advertise for the same job they just fired somebody for, but on less salary. And they've been doing this, routinely at all of their big offices. Remember, they announced record profits at the same time, well, record revenue, I should say. At the same time, they announced record cuts for staff. And they didn't even see a problem with that. Bobby Kotick was all smiles in that shareholder meeting. They couldn't even understand how those two things might not chime well with people. They are just a terrible, terrible company that treats all of its workers appallingly. So obviously, when this came out, people were like, yeah, you know what? Activision Blizzard, they're garbage, aren't they? They're massive pieces of shit. We've got a widespread abuse of women. Bobby Kotick threatening to kill assistants. Bobby Kotick lying to shareholders. Now they're lying to employees and firing them. Firing them as we go into the holiday period. Obviously, not a great time to lose your job, especially in this economy, especially in the US right now, with the inflation. That's definitely nothing to do with the Biden administration. So all of this sort of combines to create an impression Activision Blizzard aren't the good guys, are they? And this was a sort of interesting time for all of that to happen, because we actually had the Game Awards were going on. The very incredible and important Game Awards with Jeff Keighley. Basically, Activision Blizzard were going to be like sort of nominated for a bunch. I don't know why. We were very clear over in the Esports Awards. We were like, yeah, probably it's a little bit disqualifying to have widespread systemic abuse reported at your company for some of these awards. Like, don't think you're going to get Game Developer of the Year, Blizzard. I mean, you would have to develop a game that was good as well, which, you know, that's beyond you right now. But, you know, it was very similar when all of Riot shit came out. Riot were sort of overlooked that year as well because, you know, people don't like it when senior management are slapping people's balls and farting in people's faces. People don't like it when women are saying they're being abused and fucking drugged and date raped. Turns out, you know, people aren't going to tolerate that no matter how good your fucking video games are. So, reluctantly, after relentless pressure, Jeff came out and said beyond its nominations, Activision Blizzard will not be a part of this year's Game Awards. Their nominations were still there. Obviously, you can't eradicate someone's nominations, which are ostensibly on merit. But at the Game Awards, because it is just essentially an advertiser's wet dream rather than anything of any substance. Basically, people release trailers at the Game Awards, don't they? And so all of Activision Blizzard's content, all of their announcements, all of that, it was all pulled from the proceedings. And you can see here, Jeff said, beyond its nominations, I can confirm Activision Blizzard will not be a part of this year's Game Awards. The Game Awards is a time of celebration for this industry, the biggest form of entertainment in the world. There is no place for abuse, harassment, or predatory practices in any company or any community. I also realize we have a big platform which can accelerate and inspire change, and we are committed to that, but we all need to work together to build a better and more inclusive environment so everyone feels safe to build the world's best games. All of us are accountable to this standard. Incredible games and the talented developers who build them are who we want to celebrate. See you on Tuesday. Or in Jeff's case, see you next Tuesday. The reality is, this is complete nonsense because this is a fashionable statement. Like, Activision Blizzard are terrible. They are terrible. Of course they are. They're the worst example. But Ubisoft had the same thing going on over there. They had women who were being abused and HR covering it up. Riot had the same thing going on, where people were being abused, management was investigated and given paid holiday. You know, we've got even bigger problems, in my opinion. You've got people taking money from human rights violators. We've got games companies that are banning, mention of Nike because Nike are going, listen, maybe cotton from the Xinjiang province isn't something anybody should be using. And as I said, I wouldn't call Nike good guys by any fucking stretch of the imagination, but that should let you know just how fucking morally bankrupt corporate America is, actually. So, them to come out and basically say, oh, yeah, Activision Blizzard is the one that's taken it too far and no one else. Fucking rank hypocrisy, and people can see through it. And it gets even more ridiculous because they're saying Activision Blizzard won't be included in the Game Awards. All right then, cool, good call. But what's all this? You go down, there he is. Definitely not a vanity project. But look at their advisory board and look who the first name on their advisory board is. So remember, he said specifically, abuse shouldn't be tolerated. But you've got somebody who represents an abusive company on your fucking advisory board. And, listen, I'ma just say, Mark Merrill, a man who literally presided over the worst abuses at Riot Games, a man who is essentially running a cult, a man who can't even stick to his own rules in the game, a man who paid to have his own account boosted and then fined himself $10,000 to give to a charity that he sits on the board of, which is a cult that it has many threads about it, saying it's this, like maybe he's not appropriate to be there. Maybe a Tencent executive isn't appropriate to be there. Maybe the Ubisoft CEO isn't appropriate to be there. Maybe don't have people that have literally presided over terrible abuses on your advisory board. Start there, I would say. Probably is a good idea. But what do I know? I'm just a man that sticks to his principles. A dying breed, some might say. Anyway, the workers at Activision Blizzard sensing blood in the water, and keep in mind, the real goal everybody wants at Blizzard, especially on the boots on the ground level, and just in general in the industry now, is everybody wants Bobby Kotick gone. And why not? Of course you do. I do. We all do. So there've been strikes, there's been walkouts, and you can see here, this is the ABK Workers Alliance, which announced the initiation of strike action, and we encourage our peers in the game industry to stand with us in creating lasting change. For those who wish to join in solidarity, please consider donating to our strike fund. I had a weird thing happen the other day, right? Just big head sidebar. A guy followed me, some guy, I think maybe he was a former Blizzard employee or something. And he's been tagging me with, additional information about the complaints and stuff. And that's fine. Obviously, it's actually useful. It's one of the few good things you get out of having a Twitter account is people can sort of quickly send you news, quickly send you DMs, have a look at this, put this in your content, have you seen this? It's actually a good way to get an aggregation of everything you might need to know before you go into a report. And I'm always super grateful when people send me stuff to talk about. It makes my job easier. But this guy, like a lot of people on the internet, just decided to take it too far. Now, I think I've been pretty consistent. I think I've been one of the few journalists who's absolutely roasted Blizzard for everything they've done wrong for years. Probably going back to when they fucked up StarCraft 2 competitively with the whole WCS shit. I think I've been really consistent. Back when they used to like me and shower me with the gifts and adoration, I used to tell them to their face, you fucked up here, you fucked up there. And like I say, games developers can't handle it. Their fucking fragile little egos mean that if you're a games developer, they think they're all like incredible technologists. And they're not. Very often, they're not even the people that make the games. They just have an idea or they know how to get funding. And so I've been telling them for years, you guys are fucking shithouses. Anyway, this guy tagged me in a tweet and said, Richard, this would be a good opportunity for all the people who profit from Activision Blizzard to put it right by promoting this strike action fund. Profit from Activision Blizzard. I asked him to explain how I profit from Activision Blizzard, and he couldn't. But one of his similar deranged followers said, by reporting on them, you are making money, so you directly profit from Activision Blizzard. So me reporting almost exclusively all the negative shit they did, I am directly profiting from Activision Blizzard. Forget the fact that actually I lost money by reporting on Activision Blizzard because they will not hire me anymore for their events when they used to do that. No, I'm not directly profiting. That isn't what directly profiting means, is it? Directly profiting means they pay me money. Which, by the way, the money wouldn't be in the reporting. The money would be in the silence. And I certainly haven't got any of that. So, yeah, bit weird. But obviously I support the strike, as a former trade union representative. Which, by the way, everyone seems to think... that like I'm some sort of right-wing American, Oh, yeah, totally, guys. Strike action's bad, unions are bad. Definitely haven't been saying, about Amazon and, all of that stuff for fucking ages. Anyway, on that note, this sort of brings you up to date. Because Activision Blizzard are just clowns, and they think they can just do things like this and it's never going to get out publicly, despite the fact everything they do gets out publicly. I had to laugh at this. This is Jessica Gonzalez, who worked at Blizzard Entertainment, Activision, Treyarch, and helped found the ABK organization that is organized this strike action. And they were sent a message, a lovely message from Brian Bulletow. Now, one of the things I've told you about with Activision Blizzard and all these companies, Riot Games is the same, they love it. They don't want you in a union. And by the way, you should ask yourself why that is. Because these companies fucking suck. And they despise their workers. And they mistreat them. And all they care about is share price and money and fame on an executive level. That's it. That's all they give a shit about. So when they tell you, oh yeah, it's probably better you're not in a union, that should really get the noggin jogging. But it doesn't very often. It's the same with Amazon. How do y'all feel, by the way, that Amazon, right? Remember how Twitch has this, like, we will not do political commercials or messages on our platform. Yet when Daddy Jeff Bezos, the parent company, right, when they wanted to run anti-union ads, they ran them for 2 days on Twitch before someone got called out and decided, oh yeah, that is massively hypocritical. In fact, that actually goes against everything we said we'd stand for. Found out again. It's all good. But anyway, why don't we have a look at this message from Brian Bulletow? Everyone at Activision Blizzard, we are working hard to create more inclusive, supportive, and rewarding a more inclusive, supportive, and rewarding environment. And thanks to your input, we are making progress. In the past few months, we've announced that we're converting nearly 500 temporary workers to full-time employees at Activision Publishing Studios, and we've increased wages for a large portion of temporary workers and added paid time off benefits. We introduced a zero-tolerance harassment policy and waived required arbitration of sexual harassment and discrimination claims. Something, by the way, Riot haven't done yet. We have made significant commitments to increase gender diversity and are dedicating $250 million, that's a day's profit from Warzone, probably, to accelerate opportunities for diverse talent across the industry. We have more to do, and we believe that direct dialogue between management and employees is essential to the success of Activision Blizzard. As you may have seen yesterday, there was a communication supported by the Communication Workers of America, CWA, that asked employees to sign and submit union authorization cards. I want to be clear about this. The leadership of Activision Blizzard supports your right under the National Labor Relations Act to make your own decision about whether or not to join a union. That there is a legal preamble. They have to say that. If they say otherwise, they're breaking the law. As you make this decision, this is where they get you. As you make this decision for your future, we ask only you take the time to consider the consequences of your signature on the binding legal document. They're definitely not trying to scare you here, guys. Presented to you by CWA. Once you sign that document, you will have signed over to CWA the exclusive right to represent you for the purposes of collective bargaining concerning all terms and conditions of employment. That means that your ability to negotiate all your own working conditions will be turned over to CWA, just as the document says. Doesn't sound so scary, does it? But all right. If we fail to achieve the workplace goals we have set forth, if we fail to do the things we've committed to doing, then of course you will still always have the right to engage with and vote for CWA. But we are confident that we will make the progress we previously pledged to make and create a workplace that you can be proud of. As always, we welcome outreach with concerns or ideas to help make improvements, and there are multiple avenues internally for dialogue, both direct and anonymous. So in other words, what they've said there is, if you join this union and agree to have them represent you, a well-funded union that generally gets shit done and doesn't just represent us, then you would deprive us of our chance to make it right without that. I'm all right, actually, Activision Blizzard. I think you've had more than enough time. The funny thing is, actually, in America, this shit does work. there are many people that are like, oh, well, I don't want to enter into a legal contract with my union. It's fucking insane. So basically just telling people, listen, there'll be terrible consequences if you join this union. Like, maybe we'll get upset that you didn't give us a fair chance. You've definitely had all the chances that you're entitled to, I would say, Activision Blizzard. So that's where we're up to. Activision Blizzard remain terrible. They're always going to be terrible. And until they cut off the snake's head, metaphorically, in a video game, just to be safe with Twitch, that snake's head being metaphorically Bobby Kotick, metaphorically in a video game, it's gonna be like this. Pretty crazy.